Greetings. I am Dr. G. Suresh, Assistant Professor, PG Department of Computer Applications, St.Joseph College of Arts and Science, Autonomous, Cuddalore. We will discuss about performance testing, one type of testing in this presentation now. Performance testing is a type of software testing. Checking the behavior of an application by applying some loads. We are giving load and we are checking the performance of a software. That is nothing but the performance testing. Performance testing is a process by which the software is tested to determine the current system performance. Performance testing is also executed by doing a comparison with a different version of the same product. It is expected to perform correctly under the given workload. Performance testing is a non-functional testing in which more preference is given to the user load and quick response instead of correctness of output. Here, we give more load, it must perform quickly and it should give you a consistent and stable result. This is performance testing. So it's not a functional testing, where functional testing verifies correct output. The difference between functional and performance testing is explained in the diagram here. So in functional testing, we are going to verify the correctness of the output, whereas in performance testing, we are going to verify whether the system performs consistently, reliably, and scalably, and other things are measured in performance testing. So there are several factors that govern the performance testing. They are throughput, latency, response time, tuning, benchmarking, and capacity planning. We will discuss one by one. First, we will discuss about throughput. The capability of a product to handle multiple transactions like one product is throughput. It is calculated in terms of requests per second, calls per day, report per year, and hits per second. Performance of an application depends on the throughput value. If the throughput value is high, you can say that performance is also high. It represents the number of requests transaction processed by the product in a specified duration of time. So this diagram is a simple graph that explains the throughput of a performance testing. This is user load, and when the user load increases, the throughput also increases. At one stage, the throughput reaches a saturation point. When increase the workload, the throughput also gets reduced or declined. Next comes latency. Latency means delay. It is caused by application, operating system, and by the environment. The amount of time needed to move data or message from one point within a computer network to another is latency. Latency time are usually measured in nanoseconds. Simple example which explains latency. This is client, web server, and database server. A web application providing a service by talking to a web server and database server connected in the internet. So the client depends on the web server through the internet, and this web server again depends on the database. So the transmission of data causes delay. That delay is nothing but latency. Response time. Response time is the delay between the point of request and first response of the product. The response time increases proportional to the user load. So when more user load is given, the response time also increases. So this is request and this is response. When there are more number of requests, the response time also gets increases. The next is tuning. Tuning is an iterative process. Tuning improves the product performance without having to test the source code of the product. Tuning is a procedure by which the product performance is enhanced by setting different values to parameters of the product. Benchmarking, we need to compare with other products in the market which are already existing. Benchmarking is comparing the performance of the same product with similar products in the market which already exist. Capacity planning, the resources that are available, we have to work in that environment only. This helps the customers to plan for the set of hardware and software to install. Then comes the methodology for performance testing. There are 8 different types of methodology used for performance testing. The first one is collecting requirements, writing test cases, automatic performance test cases, executing performance test cases, analyzing performance test results, performance tuning, performance benchmarking, and capacity planning. These are the different methods used for performance testing. Collecting requirements. It is the first step in planning the performance testing. The requirements collected should satisfy the following criteria. Requirements should be testable. Requirements should be clearly stated. Percentage of improvement that is listed should be stated. The next is writing test cases. A test case should have a list of operations to be tested, steps to execute those operations, list of products and their values, loading patterns, resource in their configuration, and the expected results. Automatic performance test cases. End-to-end automation is required for performance testing. All the test cases designed require automation due to the following conditions. Performance test is repetitive. Performance test cases cannot be effective without automation. The results of performance testing need to be accurate. Executing performance testing. Performance testing generally involves more effort in planning, data collection and analysis, but less effort in execution. It needs only less effort for executing performance testing. Analyzing the performance test results. Analyzing the performance test results require multi-dimensional thinking. This is the most complex part of performance testing, where product knowledge, analytical thinking, and statistical background are all absolutely essential. Performance tuning. Performance tuning is an exercise that needs high degree of skill in identifying the list of parameters and their contribution to performance. The next thing is performance benchmarking. Performance benchmarking is about comparing the performance of product transactions with that of the competitor. No two products can have the same architecture, design and code. Therefore, end-user transactions should be considered for comparison. Capacity planning. Capacity planning necessitates a clear understanding of the resource requirements for transactions or scenarios. This understanding of what resources are needed for each transaction is a prerequisite for capacity planning. Tools for performance testing. There are various tools available for performance testing. Functional performance tools. Functional performance tools helps in recording and playing back the transactions, and this test generally involves very few machines. For example, Windrunner from Mercury, QA partner from CompuWare, and skill tests from SJCTNC. These are some of the tools for performance testing. Load tools. Load tools to load the condition for performance testing without having to keep that many users or machines. The load testing tools simplifies the complexities involved in performance. There are some examples of load tools for performance testing are Load Runner from Mercury, QA Load from CompuWare, Skill Performance from SJCTNC. Process for performance testing. The first thing required in the process of performance testing is resource requirement. All resources that are specifically needed for performance testing are included here. Normally, these resources are obtained and used for performance test and then released after the performance test is over. Collected and released later. Test bed, test lab setup. Performance testing requires a large number of resources and requires special configuration. Hence, setting up both the test bed, that is real-time environment, is time consuming. So, if any mistake happens in the test bed setup, complete performance tests have to be repeated. The third one is setting up product. Performance test results needed to be associated with the traces and audit to analyze the results and defects. That is, it needs to be entered in the logbook, recorded in the logbook. Because enabling too many traces and audit traces may start impacting the performance results. The final thing is entry and exit criteria. The performance test execution have to be stable because of complexity and accuracy that is needed. Performance test normally starts after the product meets a set of criteria. And similarly, a set of criteria is defined to conclude the results of performance test. It has to begin with the entry criteria and it has to conclude with the entry criteria. So, performance test starts with the entry and ends with the exit criteria. Thank you.